I just started it. Or maybe I have to let you in. I don't see where anybody else is here. Oh, there's Kat. Can you maybe try again? I don't know. Yeah, Eliza's coming in. There, I see you now. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
How do I make my background blurry?
It's
Blur my background. Got it.
looks like
But now it looks like I don't have hair.
I look like a sumo wrestler. Actually, I sent a picture to my cousin in Korea, like my hair was like slicked back, and he actually said, "Is that Dwayne Johnson?" I was like, "Point, I'm gonna kill you. What do you mean?" But then when I go like this, I can kind of see it. Like I could fucking be Dwayne Johnson. I mean, I got tattoos. I got a fucking head, hand.
I can't unsee that now. Thank
Shut
you.
the fuck up, Cat.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. I hope your acting skills are better than his, though.
I'm working on it. You never know. Dwayne Johnson.
Eliza, transparently, since Henry just scheduled or confirmed that this would work with him pretty late, I did not follow up with him to confirm that he was still available.
Oh. You text him. Be like, we're all here. Elizabeth. Oh, did anyone take a screenshot of Elizabeth?
Present. When we're all
Hey.
What's up,
hey,
folks? Hi.
So excited to see you, Henry. Henry, this is my amazing team.
What's up, amazing team?
we're
What?
we're here with you're so inspiring and I'm like everyone worship.
What's up? What's up? Let's see. Let's change some things around here. Let's do that. Do that. All right. Let's move that over here. So what's up, folks?
Thanks for being with us, Henry.
What's going on?
I'm Ashley. I'm one of the partners and director of sales with Anna Kate in town, and we love your girl Eliza. She is something else, man. I gotta tell you, this chick.
That is one way to describe her. Absolutely.
That's right, man. She got you here, so she did something right. But Eliza, I'm actually gonna let you lead this with Henry because he's your buddy, and we're just so grateful. I know that time is the most valuable asset that any of us possess, and so we are truly, sincerely grateful for you spending this time out of your busy day with our team. If you see any of us looking down, please know it's because we're taking notes. And I'm just like, this is really freaking cool, man. Like, this is like good karma shit right here. So sorry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
That is okay.
So Henry. You guys, I fell in love with Henry when we were in Denver. I just think he's a phenomenal person and he's so exciting. He had one of the best presentations at the Denver Summit for investors, and everyone could not stop talking about Mr. Henry Washington. I mean, he is like just a celebrity, and people are wanting to come and talk to him and get his advice. So Henry, you are in Arkansas. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and then how you became an investor and how we should all be investors?
So I do. I live and invest in Northwest Arkansas. So that's like Bentonville, Fayetteville, home of Walmart. That is where Walmart is headquartered. That's what brought me here in the first place. I moved here from Virginia Beach in 2010. They recruited me, Walmart did, to come design software. And so I did that for a long time. And then I got married and realized that being married costs more money than not being married. And I needed to figure out how to make more money because my wife wanted things, and not unreasonable things, just like to have a house and to be able to like pay our bills. And I realized that my lack of financial education led me to a place where I didn't have savings and I had bad credit. And so I started to see how my how my poor financial decisions were now not only impacting me, but they were impacting my wife. So much so that I couldn't be on the loan when we bought our first house. And so she had to buy the house without me and then let me live in it. So that was pretty cool of her to do for me. And so I thought maybe I should figure out how to pull my weight around here. And so those poor decisions led me to having a panic attack at 3 a.m. because in my brain, I was like, she's going to figure out that, like, I look good on paper, but now the math isn't mathing, and she won't be able to have this life that she deserves, and she's going to find somebody else who can give it to her, and she'll leave me. And so freaked out 3 a.m, woke up
Hey,
and decided,
Henry.
yep,
Sorry, it's really kind of hard to hear. Is anyone else having
Just-
trouble?
let me see. Let me see. Would
Sorry,
you-
it's just like super low and the volume's all the way up.
it
Wanna make sure we hear you.
it may be
Either that or I'm
my
going deaf. I don't know.
maybe my microphone. So let's see if we can. Yeah, that is the problem. It is my microphone. So let's see. This is my road mic, and it is not working. So let's see if we can get it to show up here. All right. Is that better?
Amazing. You're like, I mean, it's beautiful.
Game changer.
Way beautiful, more beautiful now.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. So do I need to start over? I can.
No, we could hear you. It's just like I was kind of like an 80-year-old woman. I was like, is this what it's like when I'm gonna be 80? You know?
We heard that the math wasn't mathing and you were worried your wife would
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yep. So panic attack after having this realization that she was going to leave me. And she wasn't, by the way. This was just all my brain. But the panic attack was very real, very legit, very terrifying. And so I Googled how to make extra money because in my brain, I was like, if I can make more money, then I can pay for the things, right? And so that's what led me to learning about real estate investing. And what I learned was that normal people invest in real estate. And I didn't have to think about that before. I just assumed like super rich people and businesses owned real estate and not just like your next door neighbor. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. If all these regular people figured it out, I got to be able to figure this out too. And I like real estate. We went to every open house we could go to, whether we were in the housing market or not, just because, that's fun. I know you agents probably hate that, but that's what I would do. And so I was like, yeah, I'll just buy real estate. Right. And when you think about that, I made this decision at 3 a.m. to buy real estate as the fix for my financial problem. Right. So I don't know if you're piecing this together right now, but that's absurd. I had no money. I had $1,000 in my savings account. I still had bad credit. I still couldn't be on the loan for the house I was actually living in. And I was like, I know how I'll fix my financial problems. I'll buy houses, right? Perfect. Um, but what I did was I made a decision that I was going to figure it out. And uh, I didn't know what I was doing was profound when I was doing it. I was just had my back against the wall. In my head, I had my back against the wall and I needed to do something. And so, but that decision is what led me down this path of figuring out how to be a real estate investor. And so I decided at 3 a.m. with none of the resources available to me of how of that would lead me to a place where I could actually do it, and with none of the information that would make you think that I would know how to do it. I still decided that I was going to figure out how to be a successful real estate investor. And so when I woke, I was so convinced that this was the path for me, that when I woke up in the morning, I shook my wife and told her we're going to be real estate investors, and she was like, yeah, cool, go do that. Right? Like, anything's better than where we are now. So and so I was like, cool, well, how do I become a real estate investor? And so I said, I don't know, but there's got to be people who live here who do know. So if I can find them, I'll just hang around with them a lot until I learn how to do it. And so I found every real estate investor meetup in Northwest Arkansas, and I started going to every single one relentlessly, consistently, every meetup. And I would make a plan. Like, I wouldn't just go. I made a plan. I was like, all right, I'm going to go. I'm going to sit my butt in the front of that room and front and center, and I'm going to talk to people and figure out what they're doing. Because if I sit front and center, typically the people, like, who sits front and center in class? Like the nerds, right? People who know stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna go sit front and center and sit by the people who know stuff, who are doing stuff, and I'm gonna start asking them questions. And my goal was to just start learning what people were doing, and I didn't know how to do that, so I would just ask them, like, what are you doing? What deals did you do? Like, what was your last deal? Did you flip it? Did you rent it? Did you sell it? Like, what'd you pay for it? Where is it? What'd you do to it? Like, I was asking all these questions. What I was starting to realize was that, like, real estate investors will tell you everything. Like, they were like, oh yeah, I bought this house over here and I paid this and I put this much into it and we sold it for that. And I like to buy properties in this neighborhood because this neighborhood has X, Y, and Z. And I heard that X, Y, and Z was coming to town over here. And so that's why we're buying these houses over here. And I was like, okay. Like, people will just give you the sauce. Like, they'll just tell you, which I think is pretty unique to real estate investing. There's a lot of niches and industries where people kind of play their cards close to the vest because they don't want this competition created. But I realized, in, like, real estate investors were like, nah, like, let's talk about it. And so I started to build relationships. But I think the key point there is I went to every meetup, no matter what, no matter when it was. I made time to go. And yes, I had a job that was flexible enough to enable me to do that. I know not everybody can do that, but I mean, they met, that particular meetup met 3 times a month. I was at every meeting. I would ask everybody who was in that meeting what other groups they were in, and I would start going to those groups, and I was at every meeting. But what happened was people started to see my face. So they started to associate me with a successful real estate investor, even though I had never done the deal. But because they're seeing my face at every meetup, they just made assumptions that I knew what I was doing, that I was a successful investor. And in this world, you get what you give, right? So what you put out, you get back. And so I was putting out that I was a real estate investor. I was putting out that I was a successful real estate investor. I changed how I introduce myself to people. When you go to meetups, or when you're in circles of people and people ask, what do you do? This was happening at the event I was at with Eliza, right? I would ask people, I'd say, hey, what do you do? And they'd say, oh, well, I'm a, investment banker. And, I have some rental properties, or I'm a software developer and I, flip some houses. That's not what I did. Hi, my name's Henry. I'm a real estate investor. I'm looking to buy properties in XYZ part of town. Also, I design software for Walmart because being a real estate investor, although it wasn't producing income for me, was what I needed to produce income for me. I wanted that to be the thing that was going to take over my life and my financials. And so that became my persona, my identity, not because, again, I was some profound individual. I just was like, I just know the world gives you what you give it. And I wanted to give it that I was a real estate investor, so it would start giving me some of those things. And so I would just introduce myself like that.
But you were
Uh,
specific too, though. Like you were very
Yeah,
specific
for sure.
and clear, like this is what I'm looking for, right? Because if
100%.
you're going to be networking, why not be?
Why not put it out there? You don't know who you're talking to. They could have a deal right there in that neighborhood you're looking for. They could have a contractor you need to use. They could be a private money lender that you can use. You never know who you're talking to, and you never know who you're talking to. You never know who they know.
Mhm.
So, and so that's that's how I would network. And what happened was I built these great relationships because everybody saw my face. And then when they start to, and then when people would realize that like I'd never done a deal, they were like, oh yeah, Henry, like, what do you do? How many deals have you done? I'm like, I've never done a deal. What? What do you think they wanted to do?
Teach you.
They wanted to help me get a deal. Like they were like, we gotta help you. We gotta change that. Right. And so like, so what happened was, I got a phone call from a buddy of mine one day who heard that I was buying houses because I would tell everybody under the sun that that's what I do. And so he called me one day and he was like, dude, I heard you're buying houses. And I was like, yep, sure am. And he was like, I gotta sell my house. I gotta tell you this crazy story. And I was like, yeah, okay. So really, really long story short, this is a friend of mine I knew. I'd been to his house. Like I knew this house. And so he was like, dude, I moved out of my house like a year ago. Let a guy from church move into it. He was needing to fix his credit. He needed a place to live. So he's going to fix his credit, live there. He's been paying the mortgage. And then once he fixed his credit, he was just going to buy it from me because I needed to sell it so that I could buy this property that we're going to use for this church that he's a part of. Because he's a family member of this whole church community situation thing. And he was like, but it's been a year. He hasn't done anything. He's not taking care of the place. Can't buy the house. I gotta sell it in 30 days. Like I need the money to go buy this place. He was like, so look, I'll sell it to you for 116,000. It's probably worth like 165, 175. I don't care what it's worth. I just know I got to sell it for 165. I mean, for 116, because that gives me the exact amount of money I need to go buy this property for my church. Right. And I was like, all right. He was like, so can you buy it in 30 days? And I was like, yeah, I'll buy it in 30 days. I had no idea how to buy that house. Right. No clue. I had to go to my desk and I had to Google. I literally Googled. Y'all are going to hate this. What did I Google?
How to buy a house.
How to buy a house in 30 days.
How to buy a house with no money in 30 days.
How to buy a house without a real estate agent. That's what I Googled. Right. And so I Googled that and it was like, you got to put it under contract, right? Or put it in escrow. And I was like, cool. I don't know what that means either. Right. So I'm Googling all this stuff and it's like, you need to put it under contract. And I'm like, cool. What's that mean? And it was like, you need to sign a purchase and sale agreement. And I was like, cool. Where do I get a purchase and sale agreement? Like, I'm just Googling all this stuff. Right. I download a contract off the internet. I take it to my buddy's desk at work. We sign this contract. And now I've got this house under contract. And so then I'm like, I need money, right? Because you need money to buy houses. I had $1,000 in my savings account. Like that's what I had saved up. And so I was buying this house for $116,000. I had $1,000. So how much money do I need?
A lot more.
More than $1,000.
I need $115,000, right? Cool. So I'm like, I'll go to a bank. Banks have money. That's what I'll do. And so I went to the bank closest to my job because I was taking lunch and was needing money. And so I was like, I'll drive to the bank that's right there because they have money and I have a house. And so I went there and I walked in with the contract in my hand and I was like, hey, can somebody help me buy this house? Like I walked into the lobby and with the contract and I happened happened to walk into a local community bank. I did not know that's what that was. I happened to talk to the commercial loan officer because that's who was standing in the lobby having a conversation with the tellers. And when he took the contract from me and he read it, and he was like, come to my office real quick. And so he went to his office and he was like putting the address in, and he was like, dude, this is a really good deal. Like, this house is worth a lot more than this, right? And I was like, yeah, that's why I want to buy it. And he was like, "Hey, we would love to lend on this deal. We'd be happy to." He was like, here's the way it works. We'll lend you 85% of the purchase price. We'll lend you 100% of the renovation money. So all you need is a 15% down payment. That's how we structure these loans. Is that something you'd be interested in? Do you have a 15% down payment? And I was like, yes. uh, but I was happy. Why was I happy?
Because that gap is closing.
That's right. That's right. So 116,000 times 0.15. All right, 16000 times 0.15. So I now needed $17,400. That's my down payment. So I need $16,400. So if you're doing the math, I had pretty much found $100,000, right? So I'm ecstatic. Now I'm at the beginning of the day, I needed 115, and now I need 15. Like that's a good place to be. And so I went back to this network of real estate investors that I had been establishing this relationship with consistently for the last 90 days or 60 days, and said, how the heck are y'all getting the money to do these deals? And one of them sat down with me and went over all these options, right? All these options. None of them were going to work for me to get the $15,000 I needed in 30 days. Until he was like, you could borrow it from your 401k. And I was like, what's that mean? Because I don't want to take it out of my 401k, because then you got to pay penalties and fees, and it's like it's not worth the squeeze, right? Like, and he was like, no, you can borrow against it, and then you pay yourself back with interest. Your employer will just take the money out of your paycheck. But if you rent the house out, then your tenants are technically paying back your loan, right? Because it plays cash flows. The cash flow covers your 401k loan payment. And I was like, that's a great idea. I should do that. I just need a 401k, and then I can do that, because I didn't have that either. But my wife had that. And so I went to the wife and said, remember when I said we were going to be real estate investors 60 days ago? Well, we need to borrow $15,000 from your 401k for us to buy this house. And she said yes. And we borrowed the money and we bought the house. And then the bank called me and said, hey, after we closed, they were like, hey, this was a great deal. We want to finance more great deals like this. So we want to give you a line of credit on the equity on that deal. And so what I want you to do is to go find more deals like this. We'll fund 85% of the purchase, 100% of the rehab, and then you can use this line of credit for this property that you have as your 15% down payment. And so that way you're not going to have to put any money into the deal, right? We get to finance good deals, you get to make money, everybody wins, right? And so this lender was just like schooling me on how I can leverage small local banks to be able to fund my real estate deals. And that's kind of how my career started. I realized that, like, okay, there's more than one way to skin a cat in terms of getting a loan for rental property. I only learned that because I got lucky and walked into a local bank when I first got started. And that lender then became almost like an unofficial mentor of mine, because he was like, here's how you do this. Here's how you leverage these funds to be able to grow your portfolio. And so the only hang up I had then was I had to figure out how to go find good deals, because I knew how to have the money. So I started to learn as an investor how to go find really good real estate deals. And if I can learn how to go find really good real estate deals, and I could keep funding them through creatively using small local banks, then I could grow and scale my business. And so that is how I got started. That is a very long-winded way of saying how I got started. I did my first several deals very similarly. I would find a good deal, I would bring it to that bank, they would fund it. I would use the line of credit as my down payment. I would either renovate that property and refinance it, pay off the line of credit, or I would flip that property and pay off the line of credit. And I would just rinse and repeat that. Make sense?
Henry, do you know what you know what I'm like the biggest takeaway, just even from that intro, is that you took action.
Mhm.
Action breeds action.
Mhm.
And I feel like so many people just plan themselves
Mhm.
out of any opportunity where you're just like, we're figuring it out. Like, I don't know how, but I'm just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other
Yeah.
and we're figuring it out.
100%. That's why I like to tell that story, because there's a lot of very basic things that were done. But if I just tell you these basic things that were done, people will be like, oh, whatever, do. Yeah, of course, go hang out with other investors. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Just make a decision, right? But when I tell the story, people see how those dots connect. I did some very basic things, which led me to success. Now, you're right. You said people will, how did you phrase it? They'll
I said plan themselves out of
plan them.
opportunity.
100%. I've always phrased it as we as people, we, all of us, me included, we love to make decisions for other people. We will make decisions for other people about our wealth all the time. Because what most people would do, face that very same situation that I was in, is first and foremost, they would never say, well, I'm going to figure out how to be a real estate investor, because they will decide for somebody else that, well, I can't buy any houses. I only have $1,000 in my savings account and I have bad credit, right? I can't, that's not going to get it done. But we don't know that. We haven't talked to a bank yet. We haven't found a deal we want to buy yet. We just made this decision for somebody else about us and our wealth, right? And we chalk it up to, oh, it's common sense. No, it's not. You have no idea if you can get a deal done or not, because you haven't found a deal or talked to anybody about that deal. Most people, when their buddy calls them and says, I need to sell my house in 30 days, would have been like, man, I love to buy it, but I got bad credit. I only got $1,000. Like, I ain't no way I'm gonna be able to buy this deal in 30 days, man. Like, how am I gonna do that? I wish I could help you, but I can't, because common sense would tell you that you can't, but you have no idea because you didn't go try to do it. You didn't know. You didn't talk to anybody, right? You didn't talk to a lender. You didn't talk to anybody who could actually tell you whether you can or cannot get that deal done yet. You just made a decision for other people about your wealth. We do this all the time in everything that we do, right? And so the lesson we have to learn is, if you guys truly want to be real estate investors, the first thing you have to do is decide you're going to do it. Whether or not you have the resources to do it, whether or not you know how to do it, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is that you make a decision that you're going to be a successful real estate investor. Because once you make that decision, this is how the world works. This is how everything works. Anything you've been successful at, I promise you, you didn't know exactly how you were going to do it before you started doing it. You started doing it. Whatever got you into it, you started doing it, and you started to learn along the way. Whether you were making mistakes or whether you were having success, you were starting to learn. You were also starting to build a network of people that can help you, right? All of these things were happening, and all of those things help propel you to the success that you either are achieving or have found, right?
Yeah, Henry, question, like I guess in your journey, what personal beliefs, I guess, or values have been challenged or even reinforced for you to like essentially have these moments shape your approach to both business and life?
Yeah, a lot of it goes back to my upbringing. So my father was a teacher. He was a high school art teacher. Teachers don't make a lot of money. And so my dad had side hustles all the time to make extra money. He never, ever talked to me about entrepreneurship or starting a business. Those aren't conversations we had. My dad wanted me to go to college, get a degree, get a good job, work my up the corporate ladder, get the good retirement plan, right? He wanted me to take that path. And that makes sense, because when he was growing up, those weren't opportunities that were afforded to people like him, right? And so like he worked very hard so that I would have those opportunities. And so he wanted me to take advantage of them. But seeing him, like when I was very young, he's got a green thumb. So he would grow plants at home and then he would pot them and go and sell them at the swap meet. I don't even know if y'all are old enough to know what the swap meet is, but but that's where people would go and buy stuff from other people. Right. Um, and then he had an arcade at one point. It was just a pretty passive business. For those of you who are young, an arcade is a place where you used to have to go to play video
I
games
can't.
because video
God.
games weren't
Just-
in people's homes.
Oh my
You had to go
God.
to a place and then
Too
you paid
fun.
money to play video games.
They had these things called quarters.
Yeah.
And you had
Yeah.
to go to
Even
get the quarter
nickels,
machine.
even nickels
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go to the nickel arcade, so that'll tell you a little bit about my age.
And
Yeah,
I have a question, Henry. I have a question. So I love your first deal. And one of the things I hear all the time is the objection of, I don't have money to buy a house. It is something that drives me absolutely insane.
yeah.
And what I've learned is that, what are your thoughts on that? And how do you approach people that have that conversation with you? Especially because you have a lot of people coming to you
Yeah.
and saying you're an investor, you're a high level investor. How do you respond to that?
I'm gonna finish yours. So I saw my father be an entrepreneur. That's what gave me confidence when I needed to start my own something, that I could do it. I never questioned whether I could start a business. I saw my dad start businesses. And so that's where the confidence came from and the mindset came from. He also was he was a big like mentality guy. And so I just been drilled in my head since I was a kid, like you can do whatever the hell you want to do, as long as your mindset is in the right place. If your mindset is in the right place, then you'll go take the steps that are necessary when it's important enough to you. If you're not taking the steps that are necessary, it means you haven't decided you're going to do it and it's not important enough to you, period. Right.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from. In terms of your question, yeah, there's a couple of schools of thought around, does it take money to invest in real estate? It does take money to invest in real estate. It does not have to be your money, right? What we learned through my first deal is it did cost me some money. It just didn't have to be my money out of my personal bank account. We used money out of a 401k to buy our first property. We used money off of a line of credit to buy our second, third, fourth, fifth property, right? None of those were my funds, but it was money. It cost money to buy real estate. And so when people say, I don't have money to buy property, I always say, well, how do you know? You haven't found a deal yet. You have no idea if you need money or not yet. If you go find a deal, the deal will tell you what it needs, right? I went and found that house and that deal told me what I needed, right? I needed money. I needed $15,000. So I knew exactly how much I needed. And then I had to go figure out where I was going to go find that money from. And I happened to find a place to get that money that wasn't out of my own personal bank account. And so you don't know. And then you still don't know if you need money. What if you find a deal that you decide you don't want, but that's a deal that you can assign that contract to somebody else? Well, that doesn't take any money, but you got to go find the deal and have a network of people in order to be able to monetize that lead, right? What if you find a deal and you decide, I don't want that deal, but that's a lead you can pass to one of your other realtor friends here who does want that deal? Well, then you get paid that way. You have no idea how you're going to get paid off that deal yet, right? The key is you got to go find the deal first. But it does take money, because even if you buy a property and you don't use any of your own money, the second house I ever bought, 2 days after I bought it, the air conditioner went out, right? So I had to come up with $5,000 to fix that air conditioner. So you do need money. You just have to focus on going and finding the deal first and then figure out what you need from there.
Can I ask
Uh,
questions?
yeah. You can ask whatever you
Okay.
want. I'm here for you.
How do you find deals? Like you keep saying, go find deals. What's your method? Is that too personal? Are you like, I can tell you, but I'm gonna have to kill you? Oh, fair.
He has a
fair,
book.
fair. Well
Henry has
played. Well played, sir. Well played.
Yeah. Biggerpockets.com/deals book. I literally outlined all the ways I find deals in there. I'll drop
Good
the
thing
link
I
in
have a
the chat.
copy, Kristen, so I will definitely.
I swear to God, I wasn't just setting you up, but I feel like I
glad
should
you
get like
did.
a little bit of like a cut there. You're welcome.
Comes out June June 11th, you can pre-order it now. But in all seriousness, there's a million ways to find deals, right? And so that's what my whole talk was when I met Eliza, it was on finding deals. And so I'll kind of give you some high level, right? Finding deals is about finding people who have two things. You need to find people who have equity in their home and a reason to sell at a discount. You need equity and motivation. Equity and motivation, right? You guys are all licensed agents, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
right. So you've all closed deals, and you probably closed some deals at retail price and above, and you've probably closed some deals at below retail price. When you close the deal below retail price, especially substantially below retail price, I guarantee you that seller had some level of motivation that they needed to get rid of that property and they were willing to sell it below retail price, right? So finding deals is not about finding houses to buy. Finding deals is about finding situations. You need to find the situation where somebody needs to sell at a discount, right? Needs. We need people that need to sell, not people that want to sell. People that want to sell, those are your clients. Those are the people you want to list their property and get retail value. They need you. People that need to sell and can't need people like me, right? Because I promise you, you guys have all walked into a house, a potential listing, looked around and went, I could help you sell this house. But there's some stuff that we're going to need to do in order for this thing to go for what you want it to go for, right? And sometimes those people don't have the means or the ability to be able to do that. And so in those situations, okay, well, maybe this number that you're looking for isn't our goal. Maybe we need to sell it for this number because of these things we can't take care of, right? So those are the situations that we're looking for. People who need to sell and are struggling, right? We want to be able to help people out of a difficult situation. If I'm not helping you, then we don't need to do business, right? Like you don't need me. You need an agent to go help you sell your property for retail value. And so the goal for me is how do I find the people who need to sell, not want to sell? That's what finding deals is about. And there's tons of ways to do that. You can do that on the market, on the MLS, right? By using all of the trigger points that you would be able to use to determine motivation, days on market being too high, or level of distress in the pictures and people. Because if a property is not selling, right? If a listed property isn't selling, it's not selling for one of three reasons. Either marketing is terrible, the condition is terrible, or it's not priced right. That's it. Those are the reasons properties don't sell. Okay. And so you need to find the people who one of those three things are wrong if you're trying to find deals on the market. Because if you can find the people that the marketing is terrible, you can get yourself a listing, right? Because their agent sucks and you can tell them why you're a better agent and get a better listing. If you find the houses that are priced incorrectly, same thing. You can be a better agent to them. But if you find the houses that have distress, then you can potentially find yourself a deal that you can buy at a discount, right? So you need to find what's the motivation. So that's how you find it on the market. You can use days on market. You can use keyword searching through all of the keywords that would indicate distress or needing to sell. You can look through what I call misclassified listings. So the very first duplex I ever bought wasn't listed as a duplex. It was listed as a single family home. It was a single family home and it had a mother-in-law suite in the back. This was before ADUs were hot and popular. Back then, normal buyers didn't want a house with an ADU because they didn't know what to do with it. And they didn't want their family and friends living in it. And they didn't want to rent it out because they didn't want to be landlords. They just want a house. And so this house sat on the market because it was being marketed as a single family. People go see it and they're like, I don't know what to do with that house in the back. Like, this is just weird. Like, I don't know. I don't want that. And so I went and I bought it and used it as a duplex and I house hacked it. So those are ways that I would find deals on the market. Finding deals, there's three levels to deals that I talk about in the book. The first level to finding deals is on market, right? So all the things we just talked about. How are you leveraging the skill set that you have, the resources that you have to find the people who are motivated to sell and either get yourself a listing or get yourself a deal by making them an offer, right? The second level of finding deals is other people's off-market deals, right? There are people who are very good at finding off-market deals. One of those people are agents. Agents have pocket listings, right? Other people's off-market deals. So are you leveraging your realtor network to see what kind of pocket listings they have to see, would one of these be a good deal for me, right? Leveraging your realtor relationships. The second person you want to be talking to is wholesalers, right? Wholesalers. I think a lot of agents see wholesalers as bad for the industry, and there's a lot of stigma around wholesalers because, frankly, there's a lot of really crappy wholesalers and they're doing things the wrong way. But there are also very good wholesalers doing things the right way. You have to be able to weed out the bad ones from the good ones. The good ones can be a great resource for you in terms of helping you find deals. They can be a resource for you in terms of helping you get listings. The bad ones can be a resource for you in terms of helping you get listings. Because if a bad one puts a property under contract and then doesn't assign that contract to somebody else, who loses? The seller loses, but they still have a property they need to sell, right? And so those could potentially be where you pick up listings by working through bad wholesalers, contacting their deals once they fall out of contract and seeing, can I help this seller? Either by making them an offer or by listing their property, right? So other people's off-market deals. The third other person that has off-market deals are other real estate investors. Sometimes real estate investors who are really good at marketing get too many deals, and they'd be willing to let some of them go. So if you're networking and you're around other real estate investors, the first thing you need to be asking is, do you have any deals that you're looking to offload because your plate's too full, right? There have been many times where if somebody would have came and offered me a decent price for one of the properties, I've got one right now I'd sell, right? It's in the middle of a rehab and I sure would like to get rid of it, right? But you have to be in those circles. So other people's off-market deals is tier 2 where you can find deals. Third place you find deals is direct to seller, right? Your own off-market deals. So where you're going direct to the seller and getting them. So those are the 3 tiers. Tons of different methods within each one of those tiers to find them. When you're selecting a method to finding deals, you want to select the method that fits your budget and fits your personality. The reason it needs to fit your budget is because finding deals costs you something. It always costs you something. It's either going to cost you money or it's going to cost you time. Finding a deal on the MLS is free. But doing it in a way where you have consistent lead flow will cost you time. It takes time to look through the listings. It takes time to analyze all the ones that are in your buy box. It takes time to reach out to the agents on the other end and see if they'd consider an offer. It takes time to do that repeatedly again and again until you start to get deals. So pick the strategy that you have the budget for, and that budget can be either your time. So if you don't have a lot of money and you have time, you need to know, how much time do I have to spend allocating to finding deals? If you don't have time, but you have money, how much money do I have to spend that I can use to find deals? You need to know what that is. What's your budget? And then pick a strategy that fits your personality. Don't lie to yourself, right? I told on stage, like, there's tons of ways, like people like, and think about when you're thinking of finding a deal, when you're thinking of the strategy you want to use, you have to remember that the more comfortable that strategy is, the less profitable that strategy probably is, right? So hopping on Zillow and finding a deal, super comfortable, probably not going to find a very profitable deal that way because everybody's looking at those deals. Everybody's analyzed those deals. And if they're still sitting there, that means there's maybe something wrong with it. It's going to be harder to find. The harder the strategy is, the more uncomfortable a strategy is, the more likely that you're going to find a profitable deal from it. Making cold calls is uncomfortable, but it works, right? Knocking on doors is uncomfortable, but it works. But I'm not a door knocker. That's not something I do, want to do, like doing. So I don't do it. I'm not going to lie to myself and say, I'm going to push through the uncomfortability and I'm going to knock 20 doors. I'm going to get cursed out the first time and then I'm going to curse back at somebody and then I'm going to go home mad, right? Like, so that's not a thing for me. I chose mail as my main strategy, direct mail, because it fits my personality. I don't mind talking to somebody because they want to be calling me. They're calling me because they got my mail. Now, they be calling me because they got my mail and they're mad at me, but that's okay. They're calling me because they want to talk to me. They could be calling me because they got my mail and they want to talk to me about their house. Like, that strategy fits my personality. I have the budget for it. Boom, that's why I do it. So pick the strategy that you can afford to fund appropriately with your time or your money, and that you're realistically going to be able to pursue until it works. That's where people lose finding deals, is because they want to try a little bit of this strategy and a little bit of that strategy and a little bit of this, but you don't fund it with enough time or money for it to work. These things take time and money. And so when you're doing direct mail, like, you don't just send one mail campaign and get 4 deals. Like, it doesn't work like that. You may send 4 mail campaigns and get 1 deal, right? Like, it could take you a while. But the cool part about real estate investing is that we know it works. It's been proven to work over and over again by people all over the country for decades and decades. You don't have to guess. If I send enough direct mail to my market, will it work? Yes, it will work. It's not just going to stop working because Ashley tried it this month or Lainey tried it this month. It will work. You just have to fund it appropriately. Where people fail is they don't do enough of it, and they don't do it for long enough. And then they go, oh, well, I'm just throwing money down the drain. This doesn't work. Well, no, it does work. You didn't let it work. You didn't give it enough time or effort for it to work. All you did was warm up leads for me. So you sent mail for 3 months and you didn't get a response. And then I started sending mail to that same person you were sending mail to. And after 3 months of your mail, they finally decided they were going to contact the next person who sends a mail. You stopped. I sent a mail. They called me and I got a deal. So you're just warming up my leads if you're not doing your marketing with the right amount of time and effort.
Henry, I had a coaching call with my business and professional coach today. And she goes, Ashley, because I'm in the business of developing future leaders at this point in my career. And she's like, Ashley, I want you to envision there's this green pasture and there's 4 streams. Okay. And each stream is, let's just say, a strategy, open house, right? Circle prospecting, or leaning in on your sphere, right? Working, I don't know, network events, right? Different forms of sources where you can create business from. She's like, the problem with people is they keep jumping from stream to stream. When in fact, if you just lay down in the stream and just really flow with the stream, what is a natural progression of a stream if it connects to a river? How does the water get there? By a current. And the stronger the current is, and the faster you go, if you just stay consistent and you flow. And people just try to find the quick next fix and jump around where they never flow. And they never experience that current, man.
That's it. 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
What
Henry,
about
when we
failure?
were together, oh, go ahead.
No, baby girl. This is you.
I was gonna
I'll
say,
hijack the
Henry,
you out of everything because this is, you got to just take over.
no. I was gonna say, Henry, I mean, like, I feel like, one of the things that you're saying with like being consistent, it's like, that's one of the things when we were talking together. I know you've heard me talk to a ton of people that day, but I feel like even as an agent, it's like knowing your audience and saying, hey, my name's Eliza. I work with investors. That's it. That's my only thing that I do. I only work with investors. That's the only people that I serve. Do you feel like having that kind of message, just being very direct with investors, do you think that
Yeah.
gives agents like security, or what? How do you feel like as agents, as we're working in investors, and if we want to collaborate, right? Like you're not, you taught me, you're not just an investor anymore. You're now an operator scaling at such a large level. Now you went from 1 door to how many properties or how many doors are you at right now?
About 130.
Yeah. And it took like how long for you to get those doors?
6.5, 7 years.
6.5, 7 years. So we have people calling that want to be investors, and I feel like, especially as an agent, like, how often do you use your agent, and do you even partner with your agent on these investment properties as an investor?
Yes. Hold on one second. Like ASAP. Yeah. So my agent is probably the most important person on my team. And so I guess I should have led with this from the start. How many of you have investment property? Okay. How many of you want investment property? It's okay if you don't, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Okay. And then how many of you work with investors or want to work with investors as an agent? Okay, perfect. Great. Yes, if you want to work with investors and that's truly what you want to do, like 100% of the time, then yeah, that's how you should introduce yourself. I don't think to be an investor-friendly agent, you only have to serve investors. I think you can serve investors and whatever other client base you want to. It's more about understanding what investors want. Okay, is he outside? See if he's outside by the front. What investors want and how you can help investors, because investors need different services from an agent, right? And not necessarily different, but we need you to do them differently, right? And so if you think about how I function with my real estate agent, here's how we operate. My real estate agent, it runs my comps for me. So he helps me understand every time I get a lead, an off-market lead, he will run my comps for me. Now, when I go buy that property, I'm not buying it with an agent. So he's running comps for me every day on properties that I will not use him as the agent to purchase, right? Why does he do that? He does that because when I buy that property, if I'm going to flip that property, he is going to be the listing agent on that property. So our agreement is that he is going to, you roll in here, is that he is going to be the listing agent on those properties. I'm going to unplug it for a second.
Oh, look at you. Y'all are together.
So you asked me how important my agent is. We
He's
literally
right there right now. I love it.
right. So he is here all the time. So this is the person who runs my comps. And he does that because he will list my properties for me when I flip them. He also will do that because a lot of the, they can hear you, a lot of the leads that I'll get when I'm marketing for off-market deals, they may not need me. They may have a perfectly great house and they need an agent. And since I'm not an agent, then those leads become listing leads for him, right? And so, yes, it's work for him to run the comps for me, but on the backside, he's getting paid through leads I generate for him. He's getting paid through listings that he gets on the properties that I flip, and he's getting paid through referrals that I send him either to other investors who want to work with him or his team, or through other investors who have properties that they've renovated and need flipped, right? And so a lot of new agents, even seasoned agents, what they want is they want to feel like the thing that I did just now is going to make me this much money, right? And it doesn't work like that when you're working with investors. What they need from you might not make you money in that moment, but you both need to understand how what the investor needs you to do and how what you are going to make money will work together in the end. So there has to be like an agreement on the front side, right? You guys have to understand going into it what the things are that they need that you're going to do, and then how that may turn into money for you down the road. And so it's different. It can be uncomfortable, especially if you guys both don't know each other. And it's a different way of operating than when you're just dealing with a retail buyer, but that's typically what an investor needs. Now that's dealing off market. If we're dealing on market, again, there's some uncomfortability because what I need from Ryan when I'm making offers on market properties is I need him to find the properties in my buy box and then make offers on them substantially lower than what that person is asking. And you guys all know it takes time to write up an offer. And then you got to deal with the other listing agent. You got to make them understand why you're making this offer. It's so far under the value, and they'll think you're wasting my seller's time and you're wasting my time. But they may not really know. Not every agent is good. Not every agent takes the time to have the conversation with their seller to determine why the heck are they actually selling. They may have no idea that their seller actually will take a lower offer because they didn't take the time to go talk to their seller, figure out their situation. And now you tell them to make this offer and they make it and they accept it and they go, oh, well, I don't know why they accepted that offer. Yeah, you don't, because you sucked at your job and you didn't go figure out what your seller needs, right? Like you.
And also, you know what any number is? More than what they probably already have, which is 0.
Right, exactly. So Ryan can tell you a little bit about like our process for how we do the on-market stuff.
Yeah. Are we speaking to agents or?
These are all agents.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
People.
Woo! Okay, so how do we do on-market stuff? Really simple. We just try to keep a standard framework of what that offer would look like. And then we submit it out. And it's really like looking for that needle in the haystack, right? We're not even running real comps on these. We're just getting a rough estimate, like a rule of thumb. And what we're really looking for is someone to talk to us and counter us. In the state of Arkansas, if I do a verbal offer, it means nothing and the agent may not present, but legally they have to present a written offer, right? So we do get them a written offer, and there's 2 things you as an agent are doing, right? The main thing, the most important thing that you're doing is regulating that other agent's emotions. And you do that by relating to them on the same page. And there's scripts to say like, I throw Henry under the bus all the time. Like, my investor, he just wants to put in lowball offers and it's my fiduciary responsibility. I just have to present, just like it's your fiduciary responsibility to present as well. Just get me something in writing saying you rejected us. That's fine. You know, or I'll say something like, I'll just keep emotions low, you know, and I'm just like, hey, it's just business for my guy. It's not anything towards your seller. We're just presenting an offer. If you don't like this, you can reject us and let your seller reject us, right? And most time it's going to be rejection, right? But if I get even a hint of something, then I know there's a potential to have a deal there. And that's where you have to dig in deeper and ask the right questions. Like, oh, it's the same questions that Henry's asking to the seller, but I'm asking to that agent. And most agents, except for everyone on this call, most agents aren't good. This call, we got the greatest agents ever, right? But most agents will
They're
just
order takers. They're order takers. That's all they are.
Yes. And that's what you're doing. You're going to give them the orders that they're going to take and then literally be like a talking puppet to their seller, right? And so that's your job, is to give them what they need to have that conversation with that seller. Does that make sense?
Yes. Question. So are you doing LOIs or are you actually drafting full-fledged offers?
Oh, well, for us, it's easy to do full-fledged offers.
Okay.
I just have it, for us in our system, we have it saved as a template. So I have a whole,
Like
we
you
have
have fields pre-formatted basically, and you're just pumping in the addresses. How many are you sending out on a weekly basis?
right now we're not doing a lot, to be honest with you, right? But when
What was like the highest volume that you were doing at any one point?
Yeah. It could be 5 to 10 a week.
Yeah.
And we're doing it by email and text for the most part, because that's how most agents will respond by text. And I'll just say, hey, got
they
you an
don't want to pick
offer.
up the
It's
phone and
probably
call.
not what you were looking for, but it's in your email, right? Yeah.
Well,
And then they'll probably call me and cuss me out maybe. And that tells me a lot about them, not about me, not about my investor's offer. Tells me a lot about them, right? And then, or I'll just keep going through the process.
so Ryan,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, there's like a little delay, so I'm always like, I don't know if he's on. So I specialize with investors and developers and create opportunities that do not yet exist. And even if there are opportunities that exist on the market, I'm essentially forcing them to get on the phone with me And I want to uncover what it is, especially if it checks the buy box for my clients, right? I want to uncover what it is they know or don't know about the property and the seller and the motivation, because that then is an indicator to me of the caliber of agent that I'm dealing with, which is then going to be part of our strategy and our approach when I go back to my investor, when we're talking about structuring the deal. And I already know, and I'm preemptively, like, from a psychological play, how I'm going to tee this up to pitch it, to make them feel like they're really like the most amazing agent on the face of the planet, and how they're going to
Yes.
pitch it to their client, to ultimately where we get what we want. But like, to get agents on the phone, to me, is the most important part of that. If you're not doing high volume, like 100 a day, right? Like these big box companies are doing, dude, to me, that has been the absolute game changer, is building the rapport with the agent, playing them from a psychological standpoint, like chess. And then I'm going back to my investor to be like, all right, bro, here's the play that we're going to run. This is what we're dealing with on the back end.
Right.
Agents are such a critical part of the deal, because they are the barriers between the people with
Yeah.
the money and with the product, right?
Right. And I want to tell two stories to that. One story is something that Henry does all the time and what we see all the time. And it's someone has applied on Henry's website, or they got a direct mailer from him, and the house is listed. And on one deal, we actually have it in my listing presentation deck because it was so great. But what happened was this agent had listed it for X price, and the agent wasn't selling it and wasn't communicating with that seller. They reached out to Henry. Henry's like, "Why would you sell to me?" And it's like, and the seller was like, "My agent isn't doing what I need them to do. I really need to sell this property." And then Henry sends it to me. I run the numbers. He's like, "Why the heck is this not selling?" I'm like, "I don't know. It looks great. I think it's marketing." And literally, Henry bought it $45,000 less. All we did was stage and change the marketing. Like we did professional photo and video, and we sold it for the same price that they were listing it at, right? And it just showed that I just want to say that, because what you agents do, professional photo, video, marketing, social media, all that does add value. In this case, it added $45,000 value, right? And then the second story I wanna mention is, or the second thing I want to say is, oftentimes you guys are going to be thinking, wow, is it a waste of time? And then two, will my reputation be burned? So one thing that's great for me with Henry is Henry knows his buy box, right? And with you and your investors, you've got to really define what that is. So when we're putting deals on market, Henry's acquisitions manager is checking 4 things first, right? And me and the acquisitions manager worked this out. It's okay. Okay. First, his acquisitions doing this. First, do they have enough equity in the property, right? To take a 50% cut on their offer, right? I can get you the list. We'll send you the list. I forget what it is, but she checks these 4 things. It hits those things. Then she sends me the address, and then I already know what I'm doing. I'm just making an offer half off, right? And just seeing what happens. So it becomes really, really fast, right? The second thing is your reputation. Your reputation doesn't get hurt based off of the low offers you make. It gets hurt based on the way you respond or react to people's emotions, right? So respond when they go high in emotion, you go low, and you just keep it cool. I'm telling you, I make tons of lowball offers, and everyone loves me. No, because they know what is great, though. What is amazing is then those agents who know I'm submitting lowball offers are like, "Oh, I got a problem child. I know who just to call. I'm going to call Ryan Blackstone because I know he's got an investor who will buy this problem child." And that's what you'll be known for.
And you also don't just work with investors, right? So how does
how does that balance kind of play out and work with you?
When I just do normal list and
Yeah,
buy stuff.
because I think sometimes people feel like they either got to be one or the other, but you do both. And you
Yes.
do both successfully,
Yes.
right? And so you have like, to me, I think what's cool is he's really good at standard operating procedures. Like he's a big SOP nerd. And so and so he's got a really defined process for how he works with an investor versus how he works with a non-investor. Because I've seen how he meets with people who aren't investors completely different. And I guess the point is you don't have to do one or the other. You just have to understand what each party needs from you, and then how do you speak to them and what they need.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
pre-qualification, essentially, like, what are you asking the two different parties
Yeah.
to better understand how to serve them, what it is their goals are, but also you have to be able to speak the lingo, the lingo, if you will, with investors to also sniff out the bullshit investors, right? Time wasters. It's a
Well-
little bit of the juggling act.
Well, we say and this is the thing I'm teaching my agents to do right now on all these investors. You're coaching and consulting them, right? And in some sense, like it's not with Henry, but maybe some of his Henry, actually, this is great. This is Henry's students. So when I get an investor come in, I try to deep dive in them with questions. And if they don't know a lick of it, they're like, I'm just fresh off the boat, just starting to figure it out. I'm like, great, you need to go to Henry's mentorship class, right? Because there's no way I'm going to teach them enough to get them there, right? And then also I'm coaching them, and it's a tit for tat negotiation, right? So if an investor tells me like, hey, I want cash flow that's double digits, and I know I can't get that on the market, I'm like, great. So for you to get your return, you need to go off market. And there's direct mail, cold calling, SEO marketing. What one are you choosing?
Mm-hmm.
And then I hold that agent or investor accountable. And I say, hey, did you do it? Did you send out mailers? Did you, okay, you're asking me, like for example, my brother right
But
now.
you're not doing it for them. Like, to be clear, like, I just want to like bring this back to everyone's attention that's on the call, is that you do not have to do all of the work. And I think that is the misconception that people have, is they're like, I don't have time to work with investors. No. It takes two to tango, baby. Like, you got to put some skin in this game too, right?
But-
You're going to put skin in the game.
Right. And I want to say, what is the ideal avatar?
Mm-hmm.
It's Henry, right? But I wouldn't, do you guys want to know? It took me 8 months to get Henry to list something with me. Like I was in a relationship with Henry for 8 months, right? But what's been great about that is I personally have been able to scale my business as Henry has scaled. So we've grown together, like,
Mhm.
and that's been great for me. And that's why it's been worth it, right? To find those investors or teach and train these investors. We have one guy that's in Henry's group, John Boyd. He works here as well in our office. And the guy quit his job, sent out $30,000 worth of mailers, didn't get a deal. He has 4 kids, stay-at-home wife, had no deal for 6 months, and now he's closing 10 deals a year, and I get to list all of them. All of them. How would you like to go, call an expired or FSBO or whatever, and then get 10 deals guaranteed every year? Like, that's a great win. That's a great return, right? So anyway,
One client.
on one client, and it's not even that. So let me just say this. What's been great also for me with Henry, right, is Henry and I's philosophy kind of fall in the same realm. And Henry's like, hey, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to help people, right? And Henry's like, I may not be always the right person to help. Oh, you need money and you need this, you need Ryan, right? And so he gets them over to me. And then when that happens with an investor, I'm like, oh, we're aligned. We're simpatico, because they're out there helping, and I know the perfect person that I can't help that I can get to Henry,
Yeah.
right? To help. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Guys, we're gonna wrap up to be mindful of your time, but is there any last questions real quick that you guys want to ask?
I hope that
Eliza,
was,
I know Eliza and I have all, but we keep you here all day.
No, I'm gonna talk your ear off. I'll call you after Henry.
Oh my gosh, you know she will too. She's gonna do the rapid dial, ring, 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 ring. You don't need-
I am on people. I am on people.
Henry, last question is, how can we support you and your business and
Mhm.
or anything that you're really passionate about?
Yep.
To make sure that we are always wanting to come from a place of contribution
Yep.
and just really want to support you, man.
Yeah, the best way to help me right now, guys, is to help me get awareness out there around my book. So go buy my book, go buy a bunch of copies of my book and give them away to your investors as they close deals as closing presents. Like that's what I got my agent doing. And so let your network know that the book exists. I put the link, I don't know if you saw it, but I put the link in the chat where you can go and pre-order it. Comes out June 11th. But yeah, if you give gifts away to your people who close deals, why not give them my book?
Hey, we've got investment seminars, man, and we give away free books for buyer seminars. So guess whose book we're gonna give away? And
Well,
we do some
not
serious
just
deals.
investors. Why not all clients?
All
I mean,
clients.
we're building wealth. We're
No, but I'm
building wealth
saying,
here.
yeah, no, for investor seminars, like for our clients to leverage their
Yeah.
equity, man. Hell
Do
yeah, we're
it.
getting it out. We're gonna be Oprahs with your book.
Let's
go.
do you get a book. You get a book.
Henry, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
If ever you have any referrals for Atlanta needs,
Yeah.
please think of our team and your girl Eliza.
I've got
It would
I've
be
got
our
students
pleasure.
in Atlanta who are doing deals, so I will connect Eliza. She's in my group, so she'll know who they are as they pop up,
Beautiful.
and so there's connections for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Henry. We really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Make it a great
you.
day. Bye.